Sandy was a close friend, somebody I met when we were 19 in Los Angeles. She was probably one of the happiest people I've ever met. Always smiling, upbeat, positive, just a wonderful person. You know, anybody who met her loved her. She was born in Watts, and we met when we were, I don't know, 17 or 18. And we became close friends immediately. There was never any romantic relationship at all. We were just good friends, which was unusual in those days for, you know, a boy and a girl to be friends like that, but we always were. Long story short, I got drafted after a year of college, and I wound up at Fort Rucker in southern Alabama when I was in the Army before I went to Vietnam, and she was in Bogalusa, Louisiana, this little southern town where she had gone to college. And she called and said, come visit, and so I did. I got in my little Corvair and I drove across Alabama and Mississippi into Louisiana, the deep South, 1969. This was the height of the civil rights movement. And I got there to Bogalusa and met Sandy and her two roommates. Sandy was black, her two roommates were white, and they said, you can't sleep in the house. I said, why? You got a big house. It was right next to the campus. And she said, well, we've had problems, you know. This is probably the first integrated household in all of Bogalusa ever. They had had neighbors calling the police on them and vandalism of the house, and it wasn't good. So I said, all right. I slept out in my car. I woke up in the morning and there was a ring of black faces, little kids looking in the windows of the car, which made me laugh. I got up and they all ran away, probably wondering what that white boy was doing sleeping in his car in their neighborhood. But that afternoon, Sandy and I decided to make dinner for everybody. We were going to have some people over, and we went to the grocery store, put the food in the cart, and went up to the clerk, and the clerk took one look at Sandy and said, ma'am, we don't take checks here, as Sandy was writing a check. And I said to the clerk, well, you just took a check from the lady in front of us. The clerk said, sir, we don't take checks here. And I knew exactly what she meant. So I paid cash, and we walked out with our groceries. We made it about 2 blocks before the police car pulled up next to us. Cop got out, 2 cops, and said, let me see your license. And I said, why? We're not driving, we're walking. We're not doing anything wrong. He took my license, put it in his pocket without looking at it, and said, get in the car. Uh-oh. At that point, I knew something was really up. Apparently, somebody from the store, I don't know if it was the clerk or another customer, had called something in saying we were trying to pass bad checks, which, of course, was totally untrue. When we got there were 2 more cops in the police station, 2 more young white guys, and they both had KKK emblems on their uniforms. So I knew where this was going. And unfortunately, that's where it went. It got worse and worse as the afternoon progressed. They gave us no phone call. Nobody knew where we were. People were expecting us but had no idea what had happened to us. So it took us out of our cells, began asking all these questions. Why are you here? Are you civil rights workers? Are you here to register people to vote? Are you a nigger lover? They asked me. Insulting, foul questions like that. And as they asked those questions and got whatever answers we could give them, they began to get more and more angry. You could see it boiling up inside of them. Just the hatred was coming out. And they started slapping us both around. Yeah, my face was bloodied, and they were slapping Sandy, and we really realized at that point that we were in trouble. They put me back in the cell, took Sandy out, and as I was in my cell, there was a trustee mopping the floor, and he walked by and he said, look out the back window, that's where you're going to be tonight. I looked out the back window of my cell, and There was a graveyard back there. And I thought immediately of Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman, the civil rights workers who'd been found killed by the Klan in the South not that long ago. And I thought, well, that's going to be our fate. That's what's going to happen to us. No one will know. We'll be listed as missing. We'll be, suicides, like so many people who've gone to jail. No one will know what ever happened to us. I still think of that today when I see people who mysteriously die in jails because it almost happened to us. The only thing that saved us, 5 o'clock, sun going down, I knew whatever was going to happen after dark. The only thing that saved us was the door of the police station opened and in walked the captain. And it was obvious his officers did not expect him to show up. He had his uniform on, all the gold braid, gray hair, and he said, "What the hell is going on here?" And his officers all snapped to attention, and they gave him some story about we think they're suspicious and we're holding them. And he asked, "Did you arrest them?" "No." What was the crime?" There wasn't one. And he said, "Get out of here," to us. He kicked us loose. And as we were leaving, as we were walking out the door, he got up in my face with his finger and he said, "Boy, don't ever come back to my town again." And I assured him, I said, "Sir, no problem. I won't come back to your town again. I promise." And I never did. And Sandy and I remained friends for the rest of our lives. And luckily that day we got out with our lives. I think a lot of people didn't have that luck. And unfortunately, even to this day, don't have that luck in their encounters with the police.